Okay, I will call the meeting to order. As directed by Manitoba Health, we're requesting people avoid close contact within 2 meters with anyone showing symptoms of a respiratory illness, such as coughing or sneezing. If you're experiencing flu-like symptoms, we're requesting that you excuse yourself from the room. Do we have multiple people on Zoom, please?
We do have multiple people on Zoom today.
Okay, please note that when you join the meeting via Zoom, all participants will be in the waiting room and your microphone will be muted until the host lets you in the room. You can watch the hearing live via the City's Board of Revision YouTube channel. When called upon, you will be allowed from the waiting room and permitted to speak with respect to your property. Once you have been heard, you can continue to watch it hearing live via the City's Board of Revision YouTube channel. If any participants are currently watching live the live meeting on YouTube, please mute your audio player now. Okay, I would like to acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. My name is Neil Hardin. I'm chairing today's panel. With me is Tracy Anderson to my far left and Brent McIntyre to my immediate left. The assessor today is Mark Collectriglio, and the recording secretary, could I get that? Right?
That's close enough.
Close enough? Okay, and the recording secretary is Kara Belcha. So can you, first property is 409 Selkirk. So
Yes. So, Mr. Assessor, please state your name.
Mark Collectriglio?
Do you affirm the evidence to present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And Mr. Applicant, if you could please stand. Please state your name.
Norman Glass?
Do you affirm the evidence to present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. I haven't done the exchange with either of you yet, so this is the assessor's evidence that he'll be speaking to, and I'll take your copies now, please.
Oh, sure. I don't have anything else.
Okay.
This was.
Is this just one copy?
Yeah, because we sent.
Okay, you sent it electronically, right? You guys do.
Yes, I guess so.
I don't have it in this file folder. Okay, let me see what
This is supposed to have all.
well, everything else.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, I'm gonna drop it into the folders now.
Perfect.
Okay, I forgot to say the rest of the blurb. What did you know? I'm not having a good day.
It sounds like it. Well, it's Apple.
Okay, I'll go on with the blurb. We'll be hearing applications for revision of the assessment rule in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The manners for which a revision is requested have been described in each application. We'll limit discussion to those matters. The statements that the applicant, the assessor, make at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. We advise that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the board. The board is appointed annually by council and is independent of it in the city administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions the applicant may have, then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. Okay,
Kara, I don't have it.
No, and you know what, sorry, Mr. Chair, I think we're actually going to call a short recess because I don't have it
okay,
electronically. I was mixing up today and tomorrow.
okay, we'll have a short,
I can scan and email them to you from my phone. if you-
Marie's just around the corner trying to accomplish something. Just a moment.
yeah, we'll have a short recess while we're back in session again, so Mr. Assessor on 409 Selkirk.
Sure. File number 19-5052. We're dealing with 2020 business assessment today with an April 1st, 2018 reference date. The address is 409 Selkirk Avenue and the business assessment ID 26205. The business name is Chachi's. We have a total annual rental value under appeal of $40,380. Total area of the premises, 2,775 square feet. And you can see that the model has applied a base rental rate of $12.11 to the total premise area, as well as occupancy costs for the total premise area, to arrive at the annual rental value that is under appeal today, $40,380. We did do a review of rental comparables. I tried to stick to the same units of similar tenant class as the subject premise here. There is a range in regards to the rates. However, I couldn't verify some information about the last comparable that you see there, so just scratch that one out. That's 574 here. But the range in regards to the rest of them is as low as $11 and as high as $14. So the model being in at $12.11, I think that falls right within the range that we're seeing for similar type of space in the market, and therefore we're seeking that the annual rental value remain unchanged. Thank you.
Do you have questions for the assessor?
Do I have a question?
Yeah.
Is this where I kick in or?
No, just if you have anything, question on his brief.
Well, I don't at this point
Okay. Brent, any questions of the assessor?
I have no questions.
I have no
Tracy?
questions.
Okay, then give us your brief then.
now. Okay, can I get my documents back? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, well, quite simply, I mean, I see what you're doing. I mean, and it makes perfect sense to draw some sort of conclusions, but I have the real numbers. And the real numbers are probably 50 to 20% lower than your model. You can see on page 1, I provided a summary. These are right from the financial statements, which I believe the financial statements are included in the presentation with the actual numbers. And there actually is something that you would not know about, is that the utilities, there's a residential suite above our store. And the utilities are actually paid for by the store. The only thing that the tenant pays upstairs is the gas. The hydro and the water are all on 1 meter. So the model, or not the model, my summary is 37,000 less the water, a portion of the water and a portion of the hydro, and as well a portion of the property taxes should be allocated to the second floor, which the main floor is paying all. There's no consideration, and the rent is what the rent is. you know, and
Is that a gross rent or a net rent?
that is the net rent.
Okay. That's the annual value.
Yes, sir. And I provided the financial statements of the operating shop, and you will see those numbers jive. There's a piece of paper here, it looks like financial statements, which you have a copy of. Those are the actual financial statements that the company uses.
Is that your presentation?
I'm sorry, I can't hear
Is
you.
that your presentation?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's
Okay. Do you have any questions?
I do have some questions. So I'm just noticing, this looks like an income statement from 2019, correct?
yeah, just finished the last year in December.
So it was the figure, like, did you have a look at the 2018 or 2017 stuff? Were they similar?
Well, the rent was identical. I mean, the utilities, I suspect, you know, are for the most part, weather related, you know, depending on how cool or how hot it is. The hydro, the air conditioning will be higher in this particular, I'm sure this year will be very hot. I don't recall last year's weather, but there will be some fluctuations. I mean, every year there's an increase in the hydro. And
The rent hasn't changed.
the rent is the same. Taxes, well, you would have access to the property taxes. And,
Correct, yeah. And it looks like there's two line items for rent. One is for the parking lot, and you guys.
we rented a parking lot across the street.
Oh, okay.
So it's unrelated.
Same ownership, but different property?
No, we just had a surplus of cars actually, and we, just for convenience sake, I just paid the guy $150 a month to have access to his property.
Okay.
That's actually come to an end. So
No worries.
that was just a short-term remedy, I guess.
I have no further questions.
Okay, Grant, any questions?
I have no questions.
Tracy?
I have no questions, thank you.
Huh?
I have no questions,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, just for your information, we don't consider property taxes in the valuation for business appeal, for business.
So you say the property taxes aren't included in the in the comfortable occupancy?
Yeah.
Okay, so then my case is much stronger because I'm showing 37,000, including the property taxes. So if you remove the property taxes from the equation, my comfortable occupancy would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 29,000 as opposed to the model, which is 40,000.
Yeah. Okay. I have just one question. The place is air conditioned?
It is.
All right. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
My pleasure. You want them? I could do that, sure.
That would be great.
You want to give me your email or is
Sure.
something? Oh, I see. So
Yeah.
she, Belshaw?
Yeah.
At Shaw's? No, just
Thank you.
kidding. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
You too.
So item 3 will be adjourned.
Hi, Julie, can you hear us okay?
Hi, yeah, I can.
Okay, so I'll just affirm you and then we can start your applications. So for the record, can you please state your name?
Julie Squires.
And do you affirm the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so I guess I should 15, 55 regions. So the next property is 1555 regions, and we will deal with the 2019 assessment year. First of all,
Thank you.
so on 2019.
So we're dealing with file number 20-38. Again, we're dealing with 2019 business assessment. The 2019 business assessment has a reference date of April 1st of 2016. We're dealing with unit T75 at 1555 Region Avenue West, the business assessment ID 54976, and the business name is Daring Diva Purses. The total annual rental value under appeal is $65,820. The total area of the premises is 1,015 square feet. The original annual rental value, I'm proposing a recommendation to reduce that. So the information you see here with the $44.69 rent under the subject bid field, that's the recommendation. And so what we did was we did a review of the surrounding units in the mall at that time for that reference date. And you can see some of the rental comparables that came from that analysis on the brief here. So there is quite a large range, as low as $37 a square foot and as high as $73. But we did try to stick to the same region within the mall. So that this wing near the old Famous Players location is kind of where all these comparables and the subject are located. So that was the basis of the analysis. Look in the immediate area, see what we can find in regards to rental information, and use that as an indication. So there was a change. Obviously, the original rate was higher. So that's the recommendation today, is to reduce the annual rental value based on a reduction in the rental rate to $47,820.
Okay, and how do you feel about that recommendation?
Are you talking to me? Okay, sorry. I definitely feel like it's better. However, and I understand that you're basing it on years previous, but unfortunately, I wasn't there years previous. I'm there now. And if that was the rent, I probably wouldn't have taken the unit.
Okay, so you wish to proceed with your appeal? Okay.
Correct.
All right, so do you have any questions of the assessor?
Do I get, he was referencing some things that I don't have. I didn't receive any.
Julie, check your email. I sent it to you by email.
Okay, well, I checked it right before the meeting and I didn't have anything, but now I'm on the phone that I would check it on. Okay, so I do understand that some of the units around us are in and around that $45 a square foot, which is what I based all of it on, I guess. I did notice today, and I didn't notice it in time, but there's a unit at the very front of the mall that's very similar square footage, which would actually be a higher traffic area than where I am. And their ARV is $34.09, whereas mine, and their actual is $33. That was provided to me from Mark, what they actually pay at assessment.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I apologize. That didn't go in my evidence, but
No, but we're just in the section that we're asking questions of the assessor.
okay.
So you haven't seen his brief yet, then I take it.
I have not.
Mr. Chair, do we have the ability to share the screen from Maybe Karen is.
Can I go out for a minute so that I can send it to myself at the computer I'm at?
You know what, Julie, let me.
Okay.
A moment, you're right.
Oh. Okay.
Just gotta make sure I'm the right one on. Oh, there is another option that you can put your call on your phone and pull up the documents.
Pardon?
You could put your phone on the speaker and then see the documents that way, but I can also do that.
Okay, just a minute. Okay. The email is not there, so I just refreshed.
Can you see that now?
I can see it on my screen. Yeah, it's very small, but
It's not actually opening the next thing. Sure. Very unconventional. I haven't done this part yet, so I want to see this screen.
oh.
Voila. Voila.
Okay.
Okay, can you read that?
Yeah, if I zoom in, I can read it. Yeah.
Okay, so that's his assessment. And
Okay.
okay, so do you have any questions on that?
I don't have any questions on it. This is just the. Oh, I see. 73, 37. T78. So that must be close. 76. Okay, yeah, I see it. T78. Okay, I guess I don't have any questions on that. No.
Okay, Brent, do you have any questions?
I have no questions.
Tracy?
I have no questions.
Okay, so then you can proceed with your presentation, Joe.
I'm sorry. Are you? This is very confusing. Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Okay. So you just want me to go over my evidence now?
Yes.
Okay. So I've provided. Okay, so we're only doing 2019 right now. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so I provided my copy of my lease for 2019. And then I also, the third item is, I kind of grouped them together. I guess I shouldn't have, but I wanted to show you closer to a year's reflection of numbers. I provided the rent actually paid. So that's with my percentage rent. Because I thought it was only fair you had all the comparison, not just my base rent.
Okay.
So I've done a sort of 10 months because that's all I have. July and August, well, I guess I don't know what they typically would be because unfortunately, as we know, COVID has changed lots of things. But my rent is going to be substantially lower than even the reassessed amount. I also, and I guess this is the process, but unfortunately for me, the only other retail store that I had was at Portage Place. Was not the right place for me. But I had never heard of a City of Winnipeg tax bill for business. And I've been in business for a long time, but not in a retail setting. I did like trade shows and that sort of thing. So I'd never heard of it before. So February 24th, unexpectedly, after a very slow January, February, I get this tax bill from the city, completely unexpected for a very large amount, I felt, with no, I mean, yes, I appealed it right away, but it was, to me, it felt very threatening that you would seize my goods if I didn't pay by March 31st, which, if you do the math, is about 5 weeks. So I worried about paying rent for March, and then I was going to start to save for it. And of course, business went to zero. So it was not a fun time. I reached out to the assessment office. I reached out to the city. They told me to reach out to my MLAs. I felt like I had no option. So with zero income, I had to borrow money to pay the tax bill. I just wanted to say that I felt that that was very unfair, the way that was done.
Okay, so what do you feel then would be an appropriate value?
Well, I feel like I wouldn't have, myself and my neighbor pay very close. I'm not supposed to know that, but we pay very close to the same rent. And I feel like it should be assessed closer or at what I'm actually paying, because honestly, if they could get more in that space, they would get more in that space. One of the entrances by me is completely closed because of construction. I mean, now the theater's closed and staying closed, but that, I mean, of course, that wasn't, we didn't know that was happening, but I just honestly, if I'm not small business, I'm not sure who would qualify as small business. So I really feel like that small business tax credit applies to my business.
Okay, is there anything you wish to add then to your?
I guess just what I was saying earlier, and I didn't apply it as evidence, but that $33 a square foot at its unit T55A. It's very similar square footage as I am. It's in the front of the mall, which is definitely higher traffic because it's a more main entrance by H&M. And I think that if I was assessed anywhere even close to what they are paying or their ARV, that I would fall under the small business tax credit.
Which you said unit T55A?
Correct.
And what do they pay?
Their ARV on your website is $34.09 per square foot. And their actual, according to, is Mark Kulatuglu there or no? Okay, yeah. Was 33. And I'm regretting not putting that in my evidence. I apologize for that.
Okay. Mark, do you have any questions of the appellant?
The only question I have, Julie, is just in regards to, I know that there was, when we had spoke prior to the hearing, there was some information that you were kind of explaining the situation regarding the redevelopment of the theater space there and how that.
Yeah.
Is it going into the lease anywhere? Like, is that something that they put in here?
No, it's something that we're aware of. Not only is, I'm sorry, I should have brought that up. The theater is moving to the other side where Sears used to be. What I didn't realize until more recently, and just before my second lease, was the food court is also moving. And when I asked what was happening with our general area, because I always knew it wasn't going to be a long-term option, which is why I could rent for shorter terms, is that actual area won't exist. How much of it's delayed now because of the construction delays, I can't answer that. The food court was supposed to move in November. That's already been said a long time ago that it wouldn't be on time. But definitely the theater's moving and the food court is moving. I don't know the timeline for
Thank you so much, Julie. I have no further questions.
Okay.
Okay, Brent, any questions?
I have no questions.
All right. Tracy?
I have no questions, thank you.
Okay. Just the only question I have is on your, you got the 10-month rent there with your base rent and percentage rents.
Correct.
Would it be fair to prorate that for a 12-month period?
Probably. I mean, December is a really big month, and in retail, of course, that's the only really big month. My September was pretty good because it was my grand opening.
Yeah.
But then, you know, given that April's 0, I think that would be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if April had been in there, I don't know if it would have been as fair, but given that I have, yeah, I guess.
All right. So thank you for that. That concludes the 2019.
Okay.
Now we'll go to 2020.
All right, so file number,
Let me just pull up the file.
sure.
So that one I've seen because I had it,
You got
the
it?
revised one. Yeah.
Okay, so then proceed.
Okay, so file number 20-56. We're dealing with 2020 business assessment with an April 1st, 2018 reference date. The address again, Unit T75, 1555 Region Avenue West, the business assessment ID 54976. And again, we're dealing with the business Daring Diva Purses. The total annual rental value under appeal, $46,020. The total area of the premise, 1,016 square feet. Basically what we did was the rec for the previous one was based on, this is actually a supplemental value for 2020 that was appealed. And what we did was we applied the same model parameters, tenant class, tenant location, quality variables were all the same. So the recommendation that you see in 2019 that was previously presented uses the same methodology that we used here for 2020. So again, we did look to rental comparables of the units that are in the immediate vicinity of the subject premise. I will, though, I noticed here that the top one there actually is kind of reference, so I would cross it out. We shouldn't have included that one.
Sorry, I can't.
That's for unit T77.
I'm having a really hard time. It won't let me zoom in. What is T70? I'm sorry, I don't know what's happening on your end, but okay, T.
Yeah.
It won't let me see it. T77.
Just for you guys. But really, it was the same review that we did for both to see the leases in place for both 2015 mailer for 2019 and the 2017 mailer for 2018. There is a range again here, $37 to $4. Again, the model $42.87. We're seeking that the
Okay, sorry, can you confirm for me, what did you say about T77?
Just that I shouldn't have included that in my brief, just because if you notice, the lease start date is actually after the reference date of April 1st of 2018. So I should have included that there. So focus in on.
But that rent is super low and they are way more visible than I am.
Correct. It's there. I mean, I'm just don't hiding it now. But I shouldn't have put it on there.
Okay.
All right, do you have any questions of the assessor on the 2020 evaluation?
Questions? No, I know he went off what again, I do think it's unfair. I'm sorry if I'm trying to look at the screen. It's not working. It's just unfortunate that it's referenced on dates that were long before I was there. I mean, malls are changing. The traffic is not the same as what they used to be. And the rents are changing because of that.
Okay, Brent, any questions of the assessor?
I have no questions.
Tracy?
I have one question.
Sure.
Knowing what you know now about the inferior location and the fact that some of the big corner anchor units are being moved around, you can choose to alter and then maybe make a recommendation on this?
So we did that. I mean, we didn't consider the post-reference factors that are playing into it, but we did a review on the basis of this wing of the mall. Let's see what the comparables are and see what the range is and where this unit should fall within that. So I would say, yes, we did do a review, but not on the merit of any post-reference information. We strictly relied on the 2017 mailer for the 2020 stuff, right? Just to focus on what was in place for the reference date in regards to leases and using that to kind of come up with a recommendation.
Follow-up question, only because I don't know the answer to this, is whether I'm knowing that mall and big changes for a long time.
Right.
Were there not some indications of this big change in the wouldn't that
No, it's hard to say because the timeline is not a set thing, right? So we don't necessarily know when the mall is going to go forward with some of these plans. They could be talking about it or talking about, moving the mall or a food corridor. But really until they do it, we wouldn't value in any of that information until we actually see it play out and see the data from how the leases have changed. Because it's all based on a historical reference date, again, we're tied back to looking at only 2017 mailer. So it makes it difficult to see, around the 2018, 2019, it wouldn't even come into the analysis that I did, right?
you don't have a crystal ball?
I wish. I sure wish.
Thank you for explaining that. I appreciate it.
Okay, so Julie, we will have your presentation on the 2020 value.
Okay. I just, one thing further to what Mark just said is that while I know there's no crystal ball, we can, I think, all agree that any construction, any access to the mall that's closed, that's anywhere close to a store, is going to affect their traffic. So we may not know when the job will be done, but because of all of the changes happening, it's definitely affecting the traffic of that area of the mall.
Okay, I should probably explain to you the importance of the reference date. By decision of the Manitoba courts, we are unable to consider any economic information that's after the reference date of April 1st, 2018. They said in past cases, you just can't do that. You can't consider anything that happens after the reference date. You can consider the condition of your, the physical condition of your business, but not any economic conditions that took place after the reference date. So, for instance, this year with the impact of the COVID virus,
Right.
we're not allowed to consider that those sort of economic conditions this year.
Right. And the only reason I brought that up when I did was I didn't feel it was fair the way the bill was sent to me. Unexpectedly, 5 weeks notice, and if not, we're going to take your goods. That's why I brought up COVID. It wasn't in reference to business changing. I understand.
Typically, in terms of mall redevelopment and that sort of thing too. If it happened as of April 1st, 2018, then we can't consider what might have occurred after that.
Okay.
So anyhow, on with your presentation. It's a very technical point, but that's the law that the courts have laid down for us.
Okay. Well, I feel like all of the evidence is exactly the same with the exception of the new lease. My base lease amount, I went up by $100 for this term so that my percentage rent will go down. So I'll actually be paying less rent this year unless business gets substantially better. So that's the only thing. Everything else, all the evidence is really the same as the last.
All right. Mark, do you have any questions?
I have no questions. Thanks, Julie.
Thanks.
All right, Brent, any questions?
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Tracy, any questions?
No, thank you. I have
Okay, thank you very much. That concludes then your presentation then, and you can now leave. So we're done with your files.
Okay.
Thank
And what's the process from here?
We will make our decision this afternoon, and then you'll get it by registered mail within a week or two. 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks,
In 2 weeks.
probably next.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right. Uh, 1750 Plessy, the account
Yes,
is.
they are connecting by remote and
There it is.
Hi, David, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Will it be like before, Janet is just here to observe, or will she be speaking as well?
She's just here to observe.
Okay. And you have a copy of the assessor's brief?
Yes, I do.
So then please state your name for the record.
It's David Nishi Beckingham.
And do you affirm the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I so affirm.
Thank you.
Okay, you can proceed then.
Thank
Do
you.
we have a brief on the appellant?
I don't think David. David, did you do a brief for this one?
No, I believe we're just hearing the recommendation. It's
Okay.
accepting it.
So-
It was my plan.
File number 19-5921. We're dealing with 2020 business assessment with an April 1st, 2018 reference date. The address here is unit 305, 1750 Plessy's Road. The business assessment ID 50213, and this is a Tim Hortons store. We do have a recommendation to reduce the rental rate that was applied by the model to $41 a square foot. And that's based on the actual rent that's paid and some review of some of the comparables. So the recommendation is to reduce the annual rental value to $111,780 based on a reduction in the rental rate.
Okay, and how do you feel about that recommendation?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that recommendation. Thank you.
Okay, well, that's short and sweet then. That concludes.
Thanks, David.
Great, thanks.
this
Thank
matter.
you.
We can get Mr. Feldman.
Okay, I recess this hearing. I reserved your information, Mr. Mayor. And I recessed the meeting.
Oh,
It was a little coup.
A little cool. Well, at least I survived it. Trouble with being president for life is that elections are murder.
Before we open that up, Rocky, can you state your name?
Rocky, you go.
You confirm the evidence will present today, so this is the motion for nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are 529 Marion Street. I should hold up the file. Okay,
Did you submit just for Marion?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, just the one brief?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Yep, I got it.
okay, so you can proceed on 529 Marion.
Thank you. The file number is 19-5950. We're dealing with the 2020 business assessment, April 1st, 2018 reference date. The address 529 Marion Street and the business assessment ID 2950. The business name JB's Hardware Trophy Manufacturing. Total annual rental value under appeal $100,380. Total area of the premises 5,628 square feet. And we have 3 premises on file for this building, and I'll explain a little bit. The first premise that you see is an older building built in 1945. That we have on as storage space, so hence the slightly lower rent than the other 2 premises. And the remaining 2 premises that you see there are an effective year built, the city's record show 2006. So we've applied the standard retail tenant class category for those premises. So that's the distinction between the first premise you see is the storage tenant class has been applied, whereas the other standard retail tenant class has been applied. The third premise that you see is the upper level of the newer building. So just to be clear on the areas, I do have a recommendation to reduce the modeled rents. So again, the original annual rental value is $100,380. My recommendation is to reduce the rental rate for the newer building on the main and upper levels. So on the main floor, I've applied a rental rate of $16 a square foot. And on the upper level, I've applied $14 a square foot. Initially, the model did come in a little higher for both premises. The difference between the main and upper level was around $2, hence the difference that you see there that I've applied for that. So it's not a modeled rent. These are rents that I've selected based on my review of comparables. But I used some of the model's differences in the original valuation to arrive at the adjustment for the upper level rent. The rental comparables you see, I tried to select businesses along Marion, St. Boniface area, and same tenant class retail space within the same market region as the subject. There's a range in regards to the rental rates that you see, $13.50 on the low side and $16.20 on the higher side. So again, my recommendation is to correct the rents to kind of fall in line with that, and that brings the annual rental value down to $89,700. And that is my presentation.
Okay, how do you feel about that recommendation?
Yeah, I think we believe it should be significantly lower, and I'll explain why.
Okay, then you can proceed with any questions you may have.
Thank you. Just one, I'm just curious about, you have business name listed and then owners. Is this like the owner of the property, or is this the owner of the business? Like, why are there 2 listed? I'm just curious.
That would be the owner of the property.
Like the real estate?
Yeah.
So you would list owner, Melvin owns the land and building, and then JB's Hardware runs the business?
Correct, yeah.
Oh, okay. But when I was looking at other ones, I know that they're just listed as, you put owners are just the tenants.
Actually, you're right. I'm not sure about that then. That's what my understanding was, that it should be the owner.
It's not like a trade name that they own the rights to and then it's registered.
It may be the taxable party. That's what you're saying. That's what I would suspect.
Okay.
The taxable party maybe is Mr. Dimitrioff,
Right.
and then the operating name.
The trade name.
Right.
Yeah, okay. And you haven't had a chance to inspect this, I would take.
I have not.
And it's 2 buildings with different ages.
Correct.
And what are those ages?
So my records show the original building, 1945, and then there was a secondary building built in 2006.
Okay. And you're calling this retail with a, I guess, is that supposed to be a warehouse area of 1,400 feet?
So that's, storage. We classify it as storage.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thanks.
Brent, any questions?
I have no question.
Tracy?
I have no question.
Okay, I have no questions, so you can proceed.
Thank you. There has not been a realty decision on this because they didn't appeal. And they only contacted us in June of this year. And we did have a chance, not June of this year, it was, actually it was sometime last year and I didn't get a chance to inspect it, but Eric was in there and he did go in and take those pictures. So it was before COVID, but they missed the 2020 realty. We did file realty for 21 and that's going to be heard in September, and then the business for 20. Well, I guess we would have been in there in the fall. Okay. What was interesting is that I talked to the owners during the COVID time, and they had actually planned on shutting down their retail anyway. And locking the doors for them was fine because they're mostly manufacturing. And it's the presence on the retail side is the first storefront is really not part of their operation, like the strong part of their operation. And that's typical for this business. So you have all the pictures. The bulk of the space is not retail, it's actually warehouse and storage. So on page 8 and 9, you can see that that's the major parts of the building. That's the largest area. And the pictures on page 5 is the showroom, and 6 and 7 are the 2 private offices and a boardroom and a hallway. And I believe, I'm not sure what floors these are on. I wasn't in the building, but so their intention is likely to stay closed and continue to operate on internet sales and mail order sales or whatever. That's their business. So it's not retail in our opinion. The rents that we had looked at putting on this would either come from a low-end retail or a high-end industrial, somewhere in there. And what we had penciled in was 12 on the main, 10 on the upper, and 6 on the pure warehouse portion. And the rents we're using page 3 are a number of, these are all generally office rents. Page 4 are a number of retail rents. And then we have small industrial rents on page 5. So we've used a wide variety of different properties. The closest comparable we actually have to it is on page 4, in my opinion. And that's the one in bold, the 6th one down, which is 961 Portage. And this is a used article charity setup where they would bring in inventory and hold it in the building and sell it and raise money for a charity. That's the most comparable quality building of the ones we've seen in there, although that's Portage Avenue. But it's that style of building. It's not primary retail. And and it wouldn't be compared to retail. So our number works out to 68,070. And sorry, there's a mistake here. I know they weren't shut down from COVID, so just disregard that. They continued to operate. Sales were down tremendously, but they were still in business. Somebody told me a story once about sports teams, and this is a person who takes photos of the teams, and they're normally doing about 120 engagements a month, and they're down to 3. But that's because COVID is shut down all the amateur style of sports. However, they did stay open, and they did have some work. So $68,070 was, we think, the proper amount based on the utility of the building. That's my presentation.
Okay, questions?
No, just to be clear though, I mean, I guess it's a clarifying question. You had stated like the warehouse area is the largest portion.
Well, yeah, I know,
But it only looks like, even on your brief, it's
Right.
the same as ours, 1428.
I think we were just, someone who did this was just being a bit lazy. But I think it's quite clear that the warehouse is the largest portion. So I haven't been in there myself, so I can't.
And were you aware that the one building is newer? And
Yes, yeah, there are different ages of buildings.
Perfect. And no further questions.
Okay, Brent, any questions?
I have no question.
Tracy?
I have none.
Okay, and I just have an observation that 68,070 isn't divisible by 12 evenly.
Is it?
It isn't.
It is?
It isn't. Nope, it will either be 68,048 or 68,100.
Well, I get it. It's divisible by 12. Well, wait a second.
Evenly divisible.
No, they must be using this calculator. Every day I come in, I change it to proper. It takes out the decimal points. Yes, you're correct. Yeah.
So it happens to be midpoint between numbers that are divisible by 12.
Yes.
Okay.
680.
Accept your evidence.
68064.
Okay.
That's not in the act, you know that, but that is divisible by 12.
Nobody has ever been able to tell me where it comes from.
No.
It's there because it's there. Okay, thank you. Quincy de la Senior, that's St. Norbert, isn't it?
No, it's off Bishop Brandon.
Oh, is it?
I think, Mark, what did
I think, is it McGilvery first?
I think so.
On the
Yes,
docket?
you're right, I missed it. I'm ahead of my time again. Okay, 2220 McGilvert.
Perfect. The file number here is 19-5904. Again, we're dealing with 2020 business assessment, April 1st, 2018 reference date. The address is 2220 McGilvery Boulevard, and the business assessment ID is 51615. This is the original Pancake House. The total annual rental value under appeal is $204,360. Total area of the premises, 5,747 square feet. You can see that the original annual rental value was based on a rental rate of $33.11 a square foot. I do actually have a recommendation for this file. And I'll just point out for this file, this was actually originally scheduled in March, and this was something that one of my colleagues originally prepared. I've reviewed and I've looked over it. I've adopted that, so that's why you see Mr. Fougere's name up in the corner on the brief But the recommendation is the same. We're looking to reduce the 2020 business assessment to an annual rental value of $192,240. And that is based on a rental rate of $31, which is the subject rate.
And how do you feel about that?
Yeah, we had talked about it, and the rent is $31, but I'm just reading the lease here. And, actually, I have a different square footage in the lease, and I'm wondering where you got your numbers from.
Well, certainly we wouldn't have had the lease on file. So it would have come from our either the mailer or historical city records.
Yeah. Okay. No, the lease was produced before the building was built, so I don't know, maybe there were aspects that changed it. So we're accepting the value because we're only $3,000 off anyway. But I have informed the assessor that we will likely file an appeal because they were shut down to COVID, and I haven't entered any evidence here on that basis. But we'll accept, like, the value is fine. We just think it should have been suspended for 3 months.
Thank you for that. I didn't even know there was a.
Oh,
anti-house.
Yeah.
yeah, here we go. That's in the rental.
Yeah.
574. I just the lease
That's
is
usually where we get it.
lease is 5645.
And lease over, we'll take a look.
I give you this if I know how to copy somewhere else. Nothing to hide there.
So that one is.
Maybe this would be ahead of my time. I have to write the senior rate twice.
You're having quite a day.
Okay, 20 day, let's see here.
All right, so file number 19-5805, again, dealing with the 2020 business assessment, April 1st, 2018 reference date. The address 20 De La Seigneurie Boulevard, and the business assessment ID 6196 is a Home Run Sports. Total annual rental value under appeal, $297,000. We have 3 different premises on file for this space. There's a main retail area, a warehouse area, and a mezzanine area that we've applied. All the occupancy costs are applied to the areas in full, but we do have different rates, obviously, for each individual area. So you'll see there the model rates, $15.45 for the retail store, $8.56, and $7.82 for the remaining 2 premises. We did look at some rental comparables for this property.
I think we're going to ask for confirmation.
Confirmation on this one? Yeah. So we're just looking for confirmation as well.
Okay.
The rents are lower than Marion.
Commissioner, any questions from the panel?
I have no question.
Okay. $119 Squarefield.
And if you want to abbreviate the rest, we're taking both, right? So,
Yeah, we'll speed through.
whatever you want.
File number 19-5783, 2020 business assessment dealing with 119 Squarefield Boulevard, the business assessment ID 29974. Total annual rental value under appeal $63,360. We do have a recommendation to reduce the annual rental value to $56,760. That's based on a reduction in the rental rate.
How do you feel about that, Rocky?
Yeah, sounds fine.
Okay, good. We'll move down the street, or up the street, and we'll driving to 135 Squarefield.
Thank you. So file number 19-5733, We're dealing with 2020 business assessment for 135 Scurfield Boulevard, the business assessment ID 1546. The total annual rental value under appeal is $72,180. We do have a recommendation to reduce the 2020 business assessment to an annual rental value of $60,120, and that's based on a reduction in the rental rate as well.
How do you feel about that?
Sounds okay.
All right. So then that concludes all the.
But I just have a comment to make, is that I believe I single-handedly supported these people through the COVID times by increasing my purchases of wine. So I have a very good soul.
It's great to see you thinking.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.